Hey guys, in this Tackle Tip Tuesday video, I want to go over something with you that I think a lot of people struggle with, and that's what my next 3 Tackle Tip Tuesdays are going to be about. They're going to feature different styles of baits, but they're all going to be about colors and how I select my colors. Now, you go into Academy or Bass Pro and you walk down the soft plastics aisle, the jigs aisle, the crankbait aisle, and there's just tons of colors. The same bait in every color you can imagine. They come in pinks and oranges and greens and blues and reds and just anything you can imagine. But do fish really care about those colors? I mean, can fish see colors? Well, I'm posting a link to an article here. You'll see the link up above that you can go read. It is on Bassmaster about colors. And it basically said what I've always believed, is that bait companies design all these different colors
to catch fishermen, not fish.
Now, does that mean that pink isn't going to catch a fish? No, that doesn't mean that. But it just means that all these other colors that say you have watermelon red, but then you have watermelon candy, well, what's the difference? It's a slight bit of glitter difference. And it does make a difference sometimes, but not as big as you would think, because that watermelon red and the watermelon candy are generally the same base color with the watermelon drops, and you just change the glitter. And in muddy water, watermelon red and watermelon candy, they're not going to be able to tell the difference because all they can see is the silhouette of the bait in muddy water. So in this video, I'm going to show you my selection for jig colors. So to start it off with, I believe in the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. It's all about confidence. And I have confidence in 4 simple colors. So I'm going to start off with, these are all jigs from Championjigs. I am sponsored by Championjigs, but this goes across on any brand. This is a watermelon candy Championjigs brush jig. I had him do this color for me because he didn't have it to begin with, but I had him make it it's just your normal watermelon skirt, watermelon candy skirt with some some purple and green fleck in it, and then another purple and black in there with the watermelon head. And then as a trailer on this one, and that's I'm going to elaborate on trailers on this too. On this particular one, it's just a watermelon candy rip lip soft plastics crawl. So that covers my natural color in like clear water or stained water. That's gonna, when it lays on the bottom, it's gonna blend in with the bottom, which is what a crawfish, which is what a jig generally is used to imitate. That's what they look like. They look real natural to the bottom. Now, they do change colors as they molt, and that's where you kind of get into some of these different colors that bait companies make, but you can just as easily match the hatch. I'll give you an example. In those first fishing videos I posted to the channel, we had them spit up some crawfish, and they were black and orange. But we were catching them on watermelon candy baby brush hogs and Bass Pro crack crawls. Now, it didn't do real good on jigs for some reason, but those colors, as long as it looked like a crawl, they didn't care. Okay, so the next one I'm going to go over with you is what I use in the darker stained waters from about, we'll say, the end of March on into like the end of October. And I'll get with you on why I choose those months on these in a little bit. But this is a Championjigs Tequila Sunrise jig. It's just black with some pink and purple. Now, this is another color I had him tied up for me because it matched the color of another jig company that I liked, that I no longer use those jigs. But this darker color, the silhouette stands out better in stained water as it goes through the water column. Or as it's sitting on the bottom, it gives them a little contrast to the lighter brown color of the bottom, and it just stands out a little bit better to the fish. This one, I happen to have it paired with a June bug, rage bug, trailer. This is great for when it's super muddy, and that darker profile just really gives it, a lot of contrast in the water for the fish to see. But here's another thing I like to do with these. Same jig, but with a more natural trailer. Now I want you to think about this. When the jig falls through the water, the skirt's not hanging down. If the water pressure pushes it up, so it's really dark going down in the water. But when it sits on the bottom, that skirt kind of fans out, and you have that more natural crawl bait standing up above it. Now, what good's that do in muddy water, you ask? Well, in super muddy water, they're not going to see that. They're just going to see the silhouette. But what if the water, say, has a foot of visibility? Then they're still seeing that kind of more natural looking crawl bait. So it entices them in two different ways. They can see it from a distance better because of the silhouette of the darker bait as it falls through the water. But once it's sitting on the bottom, it looks more natural to them because it has the natural look of the, more natural crawl look. Now, that is strictly my opinion. I cannot prove that scientifically, but it makes sense in my mind. And yet again, most of this is more of a confidence thing. Okay, so I touched base on that, on the months of where I use that from like late March to like October. But when you start getting into November, December, January, February, you're getting into cold, muddy water usually. And that's where I had him design this color for me, the cherry pepper crawl. It's got orange and black, red and black in it. There's something I know that many of you have heard from Bass Pros and all these people talk about, the crawl color crankbaits in early spring, so like February to March. So that's what I was going for. And I've got it paired with a black and orange rage bug. This one, I'm not going to put something a little more natural. I'm not going for that. I'm just going for the bait that's going to stand out the best in that muddy water. And there has been different articles written on red and what red does when it is in the water. Supposedly, red turns to black according to like what a fish sees, quicker than any other color in the water. So that red's going to turn, well, of course, other than black. So this whole bait's going to look more black to them in the water. But it's still, it tends to match what the crawls look like during those time frames. Now, back to what I was talking about earlier about when we were fishing those first 3 videos and they were biting a black and orange looking crawl. The reason I didn't turn to this is because it didn't really match it. Now, see, that's where you can get into all those crazy colors. But in general, these 3 colors are going to get you just as many bites as any others, and it doesn't get you spun out. So, say I had 8 different colors in my tackle box for jigs and soft plastics and crankbaits. Well, that's just that many more colors that you're tempted to go through when you're not getting bites. And you just tend to get overwhelmed. So I just try to eliminate some of that and keep myself from getting spun out, because chances are, if they're not biting a black and blue jig in muddy water, or if they're not biting a watermelon candy jig in clear water, either they're not biting, they're not there, or that's not what they want. So you fish it for a little while and don't get bites, put it up. Do something different. Now, I have one more color for you that I'm going to talk about. And this is simply a personal preference during the spawn. If I'm fishing beds on our lakes, which are fairly clear, I want to be able to see my bait. Because if I can't see my bait, I can't see how the fish is reacting to it. And that's where this comes in. This is a baby bass jig from Championjigs. Notice the white in it, and then the white and green fleck in the other part. Paired with kind of a natural trailer. This is that Rip Lip Soft Plastics Watermelon Candy Crawl. I can see this in the clear water on beds really well, so I can see how the fish reacts to it. That's generally the only time I fish this. You could fish it if they're feeding on younger, smaller bass, kind of in the post-spawn, early summer. But I don't. I would rather go to my regular crawl patterns. But that is what that color is for me. So, all of that is simply to say, fish what makes you feel comfortable. And I feel comfortable with 4 colors. It just keeps it easier, keeps me from getting spun out. But say you do go to a place and you see a specific color crawfish during that time. Take a picture of it, note that, and write it down somewhere. And if you're going to go back to that place during that time frame again, grab you a couple bags of it and keep it put back in your boat. That way you can throw it during that time because you know that's what critter's there during that time. Now, you can still get a big collection doing that, but at least you have some for that range. But for me, I'm just going to follow the keep it simple, stupid, natural, something black, whether that be a black and blue jig or my tequila sunrise black and purple, and something really crawl pattern, the red color for early spring in that super muddy water, and something white to fish on beds. And that's also a personal preference. Some people don't like to fish white on beds. They like the more natural there too. But anyway, so I hope you enjoyed these tips on jig colors. My next video will be on the keep it simple, stupid method for crankbait.
Visit www.championjigs.com and use code CJ10 at checkout for 10% off of orders of $15 or more.